about to fall right on top of you, right? When tiny water droplets form close to the ground, this is called fog or mist. This is the Golden Gate Bridge in California. It is foggy there most of the time. Ice crystals, all different forms of water, if you're noticing. So we've got just regular old rain, and now we've got ice crystals, otherwise known as snow or sleet. When the air is very cold, the water in clouds freezes to make tiny ice crystals called snowflakes. Most snowflakes have 6 points. No two snowflakes are ever exactly the same. Again, kind of like your fingerprint and humpback whales' tails, right? This is what snowflakes look like when they are put under a microscope. Icicles form in snowy weather when the sun shines onto snow on roofs or trees. The snow melts, water drips down into the cold shade where it freezes. More water slowly drips and freezes, forming lots of icy fingers or icicles. Electric skies. Of course, this is going to be thunder and lightning, right? Thunderstorms happen when a cumulonimbus cloud forms in the sky. Strong winds inside the clouds swirl rain, snow, and hailstones up and down. This makes electricity build up. It escapes down to the ground as flashes of lightning. Lightning sometimes hits trees and buildings on its way from the cloud to the ground. Thunder is the sound that lightning makes when it heats up the air around it. The type of lightning is called forked lightning. You always see lightning before you hear thunder because, bum, 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 light travels faster than sound. Okay, great balls of ice. Hail. Hail forms inside giant thunder clouds, so you often get hailstorms at the same time as thunder and lightning. Water droplets get blown up to the top of the sky by gusts of air. The droplets freeze and they drop down. A layer of water forms around them. The hail is blown up to the top of the cloud again and the layer of water freezes. This happens again and again until the hail gets too heavy and falls from the sky. This is the biggest hailstone ever. It fell in Nebraska in the United States in 2003. It is shown at just over half of its actual size. If a hailstone is cut in half, its layers look a bit like those of an onion. Wild wind. Wind is moving air. It happens when hot air rises and cold air rushes in its place. The strength of the wind is measured on a scale from 1 to 12. A force 2 breeze dries the clothes on a clothesline. A force 5 wind blows the leaves from the trees. A force 9 wind is a severe gale. It can blow tiles from the roof. A force 12 wind is a hurricane, and it can destroy a house. A hurricane begins when the hot air rises quickly over the sea and starts to spin. This causes a violent storm with heavy rain. When a hurricane reaches land, huge waves and strong winds batter the coast. The ancient Greeks believed that the wind was the breath of the gods. Terrible twisters. Tornadoes are violent, whirling winds. They are sometimes called twisters. A tornado is like a giant vacuum cleaner. It sucks things up from the ground. So here are the different stages. The air inside a thundercloud slowly begins to spin around and around. The air spins faster and faster. The clouds begin to change shape. Warm air is sucked into the cloud and it becomes shaped like a funnel. The cloud touches the ground and as it moves, it destroys everything in its path. Twisters can sometimes suck up fish and frogs out of ponds. And that happened to us once. We had a fish in our yard and it was from a storm. Weather scientists. Scientists measure the weather and then tell us what they think the weather will be like. Wind speed and rain are measured at weather stations all around the world. Special planes fly into clouds to measure how much water is in them, and satellites in space take pictures of clouds and storms on Earth. So you'll be learning more about weather instruments in school. Weather balloons are sent high into the sky to measure the air temperature. The scientists put together all this information to make a weather forecast. The white swirling cloud below is a hurricane in the Atlantic Ocean. Some people think that cows lie down when it's about to rain. Animal magic. Weather doesn't just affect people, it affects the way animals behave too. For example, The fur of a snowshoe hare changes from brown to white for the winter. The hare can't be spotted in the snow by eagles that hunt it. Some animals, like dormice, sleep through the long, cold winter. This is called hibernation. When it gets colder, a dormouse eats lots of fruit and seeds. It makes a snug nest underground or in a tree and goes to sleep. 6 months later, it wakes up, ready for the summer ahead. Every year, some birds fly a very long way away to escape the cold winter weather. So we talked about chipmunks last week, and we talked about how they hibernate, and they don't hibernate all winter, like, months and months at a time, but they hibernate for days at a time, and then they go back to sleep. So they're less active in the winter. And that's the same thing with bears, which we studied a couple weeks before that. And golden tortoise beetles, they also go through a period of diapause. I almost forgot the word. Diapause, where they become less active throughout the winter. So that's all weather. Weather is affecting everything around us. It even affects us, and you don't maybe think about it, but we're less active in the winter sometimes too, because our days are shorter. There's less light, and so we're less likely to want to be out and about at the same times we do in the summer. At 8 o'clock in the summer, we're still outside playing in the yard, but at 8 o'clock in the winter, we're often tucked in our beds or watching TV, snuggled up with some hot chocolate. So weather affects everything on Earth, and the seasons affect weather on Earth, or our life on Earth. Okay, hot and cold. Some places have extreme weather that not many people or animals live there. The Sahara Desert in Africa is one of the hottest, driest places on Earth. Camels can live here because they can survive without water for a long time. Under the hot sun, desert rocks become so hot you could fry an egg on them. So we talked about droughts. I mentioned briefly in the beginning, droughts versus floods. The desert is a place where it definitely droughts, not a lot of rain. Antarctica is the coldest place in the world. Penguins are one of the few animals that are able to live there. They huddle close together to keep warm in the winter. Weird weather. In some parts of the world, the weather makes odd things happen. Some people think that strange clouds like this one look like spaceships. It's called a lenticular cloud. They usually form near mountains. Red raindrops sometimes fall from the sky. Wind picks up red sand from African deserts and carries it across the sea. The sand mixes with droplets of water in clouds to make the rain red. A hailstone with a turtle inside once fell from a thundercloud in Mississippi in the United States. Boy, that's interesting. Heating up. Many scientists think the Earth's atmosphere is slowly getting warmer, otherwise known as global warming. Probably have heard that phrase before. The air in the atmosphere acts like a blanket to keep the Earth warm. When fuels like oil and coal are burned, lots of gases are released into the air. The atmosphere is getting warmer because the gases trap heat from the sun. If the Earth gets warmer, the weather will change. In cold places, ice and snow would melt and could cause massive floods. Hundreds of years from now, all this ice might have melted. Animals added to the gases released into the air. And here's our glossary and some important words in which we learned. Droplet, tiny drop of water. Ice crystal, frozen drop of water. Lightning, a flash from light from a thundercloud. Hailstone, a lump of ice formed inside a thundercloud. Hurricane, a fierce storm. These are also known as typhoons or cyclones. Weather station, a place where scientists measure the weather. Weather forecast, a report about what the weather is going to be like. Okay, so today we covered a lot. Okay, we talked about water. We talked about how the Earth is covered in water and how most of the Earth is covered in water. I think something like 70% of the Earth. I have to check on that exact statistic. Maybe I can pull it up real quick here. Let's see, how much of Earth is covered in water? Let's see if we can find out real quick. 71%. So I didn't want to give you the wrong fact here and then 18 minutes in and then have to redo the video. So 71% of the Earth is covered in water. And it says that 97% of the Earth's water is found in oceans. So as you can see here, there's a whole lot of water on Earth, all that blue. And then 97% of the Earth's water is in the ocean. So that's why we brought up the humpback whale. So we covered the Earth, a little bit about the Earth. We covered water. we covered the humpback whale, and then we circled back and we talked about weather on Earth and how it affects all different things. It was very brief, all the topics that we covered about weather, but maybe I'll come back and I'll go into more detail about some other things. I know you'll be studying weather for a while. Thanks for having me back. I know this was a long video, so I will see you soon. In future videos, I'd love to talk to you about mushrooms, lions, California condor we still have left, and the megalosaurus.